I spent $25,000 to join my fiance's family trip to Europe. Her mom forgot our kids' tickets at the airport. 3 weeks later, they came back and went pale when they saw who was standing next to me. Hi, I'm Gordon, 34M electrician. 2 kids, Jake, 9, and Lily, 7. A Ford pickup that runs on hope and synthetic oil. And until recently, a fiance named Melissa, who I genuinely thought was the one. I don't post on Reddit. My buddy Trevor made me this account 2 years ago for our electrician's wiring tips. And that was supposed to be it. But what happened to me over the last month is so completely unhinged that I typed this whole thing out at 2 a.m. And I need strangers on the internet to know about it. Here's the scene. Dulles International Airport. 6:20 a.m. My kids are in matching travel outfits because Melissa said first impressions matter, even in airports. Lily has a unicorn suitcase. Jake has his Switch in a death grip. I've got 4 bags, a gas station neck pillow, and the complete fullness of optimism in my chest. We're going to Europe, or so I thought. Melissa's mom, Barbara, walks up to our check-in group. She has that face. You know the one. The face of someone about to deliver bad news they've pre-decided is your fault. She looks at the kids. She looks at me. She looks at her nails. Oh, Gordon, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot to book tickets for you and the children. You'll have to go back home. Then she turned around and walked towards security, like she'd forgotten to buy oat milk. I met Melissa 3 years ago at a Home Depot. She was holding the wrong dimmer switch. I am a licensed electrician of 11 years. I was born for that moment. I helped her. She laughed at my voltage joke. I asked for her number. Classic. Melissa is 32, works in marketing, is genuinely funny, patient with my kids, makes great pasta, remembers I hate cilantro. When it's just us, we're great. The problem, the enormous sirens blaring problem, is Barbara. Barbara decided from day one that I wasn't good enough for her daughter. Not because I'm a bad person, because, in her words, said directly to my face at Easter dinner, electricians are fine, Gordon, but you don't exactly have a portfolio. I make $96,000 a year. I own my house. My kids are fed and loved. I have a 401k. I have never bounced a check, but no portfolio. So, every summer, Melissa's family does a big group trip. This year, 2 weeks in Italy, 4 days in Portugal. Sorrento, Rome, Florence, Lisbon. The full thing. Melissa asked if I wanted to come with the kids. Obviously, yes. Then came the costs. Barbara managed a shared family fund. My contribution, $11,500. This supposedly covered hotels, group tours, dinners, transfers, plus part of Aunt Renata's costs because she's on a fixed income, Gordon. It's family. Flights I booked separately since the family had already bought theirs. Flights for 3, $4,200. Room upgrades for kids, $1,800. Activities and spending money, $4,800. Transfers, $700. Melissa's travel bag gift, because I'm like that, $340. Plus a 1,200 euros dream restaurant reservation in Rome for Barbara's birthday, because I wanted them to like me. Total, approximately $25,000. $25,000. I paid Barbara's fund in full 6 weeks before departure. Bank transfer. I have every screenshot and confirmation. There were signs. Signs I ignored. When I asked Barbara to confirm the kids' tickets, she said, "I'm handling it, Gordon." When I asked again, "Why do you always micromanage?" I apologized. Melissa said I was being paranoid when I noticed Barbara's family group chat, which I was not in, mentioned the whole family without naming me or my kids. Reader, I was not being paranoid. Back to Dulles. 6:20 a.m. Cheez-It dust already on Jake's new travel shirt. The whole family group is there. Melissa, her sister Diane, Diane's husband Phil, Aunt Renata in a hat that defied architecture. Barbara walks up with the face. "Oh, Gordon, I forgot to book tickets for you and the children. You'll have to go back home." "What?" "The tickets. I must have overlooked it." "Barbara, I paid you for those tickets 6 weeks ago. You paid into the family fund. That covers hotels and activities. Flights were your individual responsibility. You told me you were handling the kids' flights with the group. I don't remember saying that. Already walking towards security, I looked at Melissa. She was pale, looking between me and her mother. She said, "Gordon, I'll figure it out. Just let me." But Diane grabbed her arm and said quietly, "Mel, the gate," and Melissa, my fiance, looked at me with this terrible expression and went through security. My kids were next to me with their suitcases. Lily said, "Daddy, are we not going?" "We're not going, Bug." She started crying. Jake, who has decided at age 9 that crying is not for him, put his arm around her and looked at me with an expression that absolutely broke something in my chest. I called an Uber. We went home. Back inside our house. Kids settled with cartoons. I sat at the kitchen table. Melissa texted, "I'm so sorry, Gordon. I promise I'll make it right. Mom is being difficult. I love you." I opened my banking app, looked at the $11,500 transfer confirmation. Her full name, the date, everything documented. I looked up last-minute flights to Rome for 3. Cheapest available, $6,800. I didn't have $6,800 to just throw at the situation. I looked at the fridge. Lily had drawn a picture of our whole family on vacation with stick figures next to what I think was the Eiffel Tower, labeled "The Big Stick." Gerald knocked on my door. Gerald is my neighbor, 71, retired accountant, feeds pigeons, knows everyone within a 6-block radius. He'd seen us come back and brought coffee cake, because Gerald understands that sometimes you just need coffee cake and no questions. He sat at my table. I told him what happened. Gerald was quiet for a moment. "Son, you paid $25,000 and they left you at the airport?" "Yes." "Your kids were there?" "Yes." Gerald nodded slowly, cut 2 pieces of cake, handed me one. "Well," he said, "I know a few people." That was the beginning. Everything I did was completely legal. I want that on record. Step 1, I got a lawyer. My buddy Trevor has a sister in civil litigation, Christine, who looked at my documentation for 40 minutes and then said, "You have a very strong small claims case for the $11,500. Potentially more." We filed the next day. Step 2, I stopped responding to Melissa's texts. I know, brutal. I put my phone face down and let her experience silence. She'd been texting from Italy. First, "I love you. I'll fix this." Then, "Mom says you're being dramatic." Then, "Gordon, I just need you to be patient." Patient. I had been patient for 6 weeks while things were being handled. Step 3, Gerald. Here's the thing about Gerald. Gerald knows that the strip mall where Barbara owns a small gift shop had been flagged by the city inspector for electrical violations and couldn't find an electrician for 6 months. I want to be extremely clear. I did not sabotage anything. What I did was call the city inspector, who I know professionally, confirm the report was public record, obtain a copy, then call the strip mall management and offer my services. They hired me. I spent 3 days working in that strip mall. Barbara's gift shop is in that strip mall. Every morning I showed up for legitimate electrical work. The shop next door, an alterations place run by a woman named Rosa who has zero tolerance for nonsense, watched me arrive daily. Eventually, she asked why I kept smiling while carrying conduit. I told her the situation. Rosa looked at me for a long moment. "Baby, she left your babies at the airport?" "She did." "You let me know if you need anything." Excellent foreshadowing. Step 4, my kids. Jake and Lily were bummed. So I made a decision. We were going to have the best 3 weeks of our lives. Locally. Amusement park. Water park. Weekend camping where Jake caught his first fish. And Lily decided fish were actually kind of cool once you know them. A nice restaurant where the pasta is handmade. Go-karts. Building a birdhouse with Gerald. Every single Jurassic Park movie in order, including the bad ones, with a formal debate about which dinosaur would win in hypothetical scenarios. I documented everything and posted constantly. Jake doing a victory lap after go-karts with his fist in the air. Lily holding a fish like she'd personally negotiated peace terms with it. I may have cried a little. not confirming or denying. Step 5. Trevor. Trevor works in finance. He came over with beer, heard the whole story, and when I got to the part about Barbara saying I didn't have a portfolio, he got a very specific look on his face. Gordon, he said, I want to introduce you to my colleague. His colleague is Marcus, 40 years old, a voice like a nature documentary narrator, the kind of person who walks into a room and immediately the room is aware of him. He manages investment portfolios. His clients include people you would recognize. Marcus and I met for coffee. We talked about my retirement plan, my investments, long-term goals. Completely legitimate meeting. Then Marcus said, you know, I have a client in your neighborhood, a Gerald, retired accountant, said I might be hearing from you. Gerald. Gerald has a portfolio? I said. Oh, son, Marcus said. Gerald has a very significant portfolio. I went home and looked at Gerald completely differently. Step 6. The crisis of conscience. Week 2. I'm in my truck eating a sandwich outside the strip mall. And I think, wait, have I gone too far? Lawyer filed. Working at Barbara's strip mall. Cultivating a finance connection. Not responding to Melissa's escalating texts. Posting elaborate content of my kids thriving. Was this revenge or just my life happening? I thought about Jake's face at the airport. I ate the sandwich. I decided it was both, and I was fine with it. Week 3. Melissa's texts had escalated to an 11-paragraph message that started with, I've been doing a lot of thinking. The summary. She loved me. She was sorry. Her mom was insisting she'd simply forgotten, and Melissa wanted to come home and fix things. I read all 11 paragraphs. I sent back one text. Okay. Just okay. I watched the 3 dots appear. Stop. Appear. Stop. Stay for 4 minutes. Disappear. I went back to the electrical panel I was working on. Meanwhile, Christine had heard from Barbara's lawyer. Barbara had gotten a lawyer, meaning she'd been taking this seriously while texting me nothing, claiming the money was used correctly, and flights were my responsibility. Christine looked at their letter, looked at my documentation, smiled. They're going to want to settle. Good. She asked what I actually wanted, my money back, an apology to my kids, and to never deal with Barbara again. She wrote it down. Then, and Melissa? I didn't answer that right away. Marcus and I had a legitimate second meeting scheduled. Follow up on investment options, and he suggested the coffee shop 2 blocks from my house. So at 11 a.m. on the day Barbara's family landed back at Dulles, I was at an outdoor table having coffee with Marcus, who was in an excellent suit, discussing index funds. At 11:37 a.m., Gerald texted me. They're here. The tall one has a new hat. Aunt Renata. Of course. At 11:42 a.m., Marcus and I walked back toward my house. And that's when they saw us. Barbara, Diane, Phil, Aunt Renata, and her hat. The cousins. And Melissa standing on the sidewalk with her suitcase, who had been texting me since the plane landed. They all turned at the same time. I was standing there with Marcus, who at that particular moment was mid-sentence about equity funds, gesturing with his coffee cup in a way that was objectively extremely confident looking. I watched their faces change. Barbara went pale. Diane grabbed Phil's arm. Melissa's mouth opened. Gerald, from his porch, watched all of this with the serenity of a man watching his favorite film. Barbara looked at me. At Marcus. At me. Gordon. Who is... This is Marcus. I said with a calm I have never felt before or since. He manages my investment portfolio. Silence. Your investment portfolio, she repeated. I said. Marcus extended his hand. Marcus Ellison. Good to meet you. Barbara shook it, doing visible math in her head. I didn't know you had. I know, I said pleasantly. I know you didn't. Then Gerald called from his porch. Gordon, coffee cake. Fresh. Love some, Gerald. I called back. I looked at Melissa. She looked like she'd been lightly hit by something soft but still surprising. I said, welcome back. Christine will be in touch. And I walked to Gerald's porch and ate coffee cake. Barbara settled. Full $11,500 returned within 10 days, plus $2,500 for incidental costs and distress, which Christine negotiated with the calm of someone who does this recreationally. After Christine's fees, I came out net positive. Barbara sent my kids a physical card, an actual paper card. I don't know if Christine required it or not, but it happened. Lily said, "She has nice handwriting." Jake said nothing, but kept the card on his desk. Melissa and I had several long, honest conversations. She's a good person who spent 32 years being managed by her mother and didn't fully see it until she was on a plane to Rome watching me not respond to her texts. She admitted she'd sensed something was wrong with the booking, but hadn't pushed back because she was trained not to. We're not engaged anymore. That's not a tragic sentence. It's just accurate. We're talking. Taking it slowly. Neither of us burned the bridge. Marcus became my actual financial advisor. He's excellent. My retirement plan is now genuinely interesting. Gerald's birdhouse, the one Jake, Lily, and I built, sits in his front yard. 3 bird families are using it. Gerald says it's the best investment he's made in years. I took Jake and Lily to Italy. 6 weeks later, just us 3. 8 days. Jake ate pasta and said, "Okay, fine. Pasta is actually good." Lily stood in front of the Colosseum and said, "Daddy, it's broken. Why didn't they fix it?" And I have thought about that every single day since because she's not wrong. We went to the restaurant in Rome. The one I'd originally booked for Barbara's family, I rebooked it for us. It was everything the reviews promised. Jake ordered something he couldn't pronounce and ate every single bite. That is my favorite moment of this entire year. The moral. If someone leaves your kids at an airport, that's information. It tells you everything about where you actually stand. The money is almost secondary. Almost, but also $25,000 is not secondary. And if you have receipts, use them. Don't mistake conflict avoidance for kindness. Don't be patient when you should be paying attention. Ask to see the booking confirmation. Get a Gerald, a retired accountant neighbor with a significant portfolio and fresh coffee cake. I cannot explain how load-bearing Gerald is in my life. The best response isn't dramatic. It's becoming calm and competent, while the other person realizes they miscalculated. Stand next to someone in a nice suit. Eat coffee cake. Let your lawyer handle it. Take your kids to Italy. That's it.